You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe you're good-looking, you're always looking for and finding the good. You have found good in abundance because you have tuned in consciously and conscientiously to the Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, known as the Ambassador of Joy. Now, you'll notice I didn't say the Ambassador of Joy. It's the Ambassador of Joy. And this show is really not about me, not even about our amazing guest, Russ. And you're going to love him. It's about you, Y-O-U. And it's great because when you become the best you make the world a better place. So that's why you tuned in. You tuned in because you care the most in the entire world about you. And you're now joined by over 500,000 people around the world. And we're honored that you keep telling your family and friends, hey, you got to tune into the Joy of Living. So share this with 5 people. That's it, at least 5 people. And remember to follow us on Spotify and Apple. Just it makes the show better. And when you share with 5 people, you touch 2.5 million people. So let's talk about you. Why did you tune in? You tuned in because you know that in this show we speak about the 3 fundamentals of life. And when you use these 3 fundamentals, the result is you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. I guarantee it. Now, what are the 3 fundamentals? Number 1, life, your life has purpose. When you lead a purpose-driven life, number 2 happens. In this case, good number 2, you go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the 3rd fundamental is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example. This show is is carried over the internet and it's seen all around the world. If you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, it has to do with the internet. Now, factually speaking, they're correct. However, in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. What is the world, right? WHATA. And of course, a tip of the hat and a big thank you to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, for enabling the song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral and not just touch tens of millions or hundreds of millions, billions of people around the planet. Now, whenever you hear the opening bars of What a Wonderful World, what do you do right away? You can't help it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you got to internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life because smile is a great acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. That's right, seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I'm privileged to speak to people on webinars and seminars and in person. Whenever I talk about Barry Shore in the story, and I talk about seeing miracles in life every day, people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And they ask them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. You have water to drink, you have family to sleep, you have place to sleep, you have family, you have friends. Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simple as proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you didn't, if you're watching or you're listening, you're here. Therefore, you have an obligation to live life to the full. Let me tell you a quick story. It's about me. Imagine, if you can, I'm standing up in the morning, completely healthy and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from my neck down. Not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, a rare disease which I've never heard of the day before, takes over my body and renders me what's called a quadriplegic. Nothing in my body moved. I can only communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed 2 years in my own home. I couldn't move. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. Can't walk up a curb by myself. I've helped 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of one word. That's right. Smile. I got to tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago. She says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile? Smile. I thought about it. Smile, smile. Sounds the same. Why not? I asked her, how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Ah! Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. What was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. It's called a shift in perspective. Now, I've been working with people for more than 5 decades, and people like 97.2% of all the people I can begin working with, they drop the F in shift, and the other stuff happens. You got to be effing careful with your Fs. And you're going to learn a lot from our amazing guest today, wonderful Russ DeVan, about shift perspective, just a little bit. When you shift your perspective a little bit, you can internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. And these are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will determine the path of your life and your trajectory. Now, before we bring on amazing Russ, I want to warn everybody that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word. I do it because of the shock value and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, play, pray, free, gift, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun. That's right. FU, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family, your friends, you have a twinkle in your eye, smile on your face. Remember this stands for. Point your finger, say FU, everybody. Remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. Say, where'd you get that? I said, I listened to Barry Shore on the joy of living. You got their attention. Now you can share with them the amazing transformational information and ideas you're going to be learning with Russ. And before we bring on amazing Russ DeVan, I just want to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. And when you do this, you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Therefore, be kind always. Kind stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody that inspires noble deeds more than the wonderful, amazing, dear Russ DeVan. Russ, please say hello to 508,922 people around the world.
Hello, 508. I lost it after that. Hello, everybody. How you doing?
So those of you who are fortunate enough to be watching and you're looking at me, but you're also looking at Russ. Russ is that remarkably beautiful, bountiful, beneficent, bountiful, that face. And if you're listening to his words, you're going to be amazed because Russ brings us the wisdom of the ages, not because he's aged, but because he understands wisdom. He is fundamentally a trainer. He's an author. He cares about people and enlivening people. That's the reason I have him on here. Russ is, when you hear the words Russ DeVan, you put an equal sign, equal network marketing. Now, I'm not even going to discuss what network marketing is. He will a little bit. And I just want to jump right in right now. I want to tell people, however, that if I started telling you all the things that Russ has accomplished, it would take the rest of the show. So I'm just going to tell you 2 things. Number 1, great guy. And number 2, he's such a great guy that when he even gives just pearls of wisdom to people, they can go out and make tens and tens of millions of dollars and help people. And we'll talk about one of those stories in a little bit. So Russ, without further ado, welcome. And let's just jump right in and talk about what I call the L word. Now, it's not love, even though it is love. It's listen. What is, you told me that one of your secret weapons that you actually enable people to learn about is listening. Can you explain more about that?
Boy, I sure can. But first of all, Barry, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge you. Your energy and what you bring here it's so easy for me to be here. And I could sit here and listen to you for an hour. So, I just want you to know I'm thrilled and honored to be here. So, you asked me about listening. Many years ago, I was given a great gift. I took a different kind of personal development course. Didn't come from a tape or a book or even one person. It was a program that was called Leadership, Productivity, and Service. And it was a program that it was grounded, I'd say, in ontological principles. And ontology, for those of you who think that's a big word, just to demystify it, ontology is simply the study of being. And there are many kinds of ontological programs out there. This one doesn't even exist anymore. But immediately, the most important thing that I got from that program, which by the way wasn't a weekend or wasn't a month, it was a year-long experiential program that I was participating in every morning, physically at different locations around the country. And I had wonderful mentors and teachers and coaches and met fabulous people in that program. And it was the beginning of my company, Success by Design. I'll say more about that later. We're talking about listening. So one of the most important distinctions, and that's one of the things that makes this type of training different, is it's not about knowledge. It's not about teaching you techniques or even tips. It's about separating out things that are right in front of you that you never saw before, that are in the domain of what you don't know, you don't know. Now, a lot of people toss that around today. I hear it on talk shows and politics. Oh, that's what you didn't know, you didn't know. No. If you don't know something, but you don't know it, it's invisible to you. But it doesn't have to be invisible to you forever, because it can be unconcealed with something called a distinction. So when I say I want to talk about listening, most of you say, well, I already know how to listen. Thanks anyway. Okay, I got listening, I got down. Well, yes, I'm not going to teach you about listening in the sense that I'm going to teach you a better way to do it. What I'm going to teach you, or what I will teach you, and what listening is about in this context, is there's more than one kind of listening. And we think we listen, and we do. We're always listening. It's from the time we're born. Even the hearing impaired listen. They just do it in a different way. So when I speak about listening, most people think, well, I listen. Yes, you do. You listen all the time. You're always listening, even when you're not speaking, even sometimes when you're semi-conscious, you're still listening. But that's not the listening I'm talking about. That's called always listening, or reactive listening. And it's the listening that we're born with. How many times have you had somebody talking to you, but you weren't there? Like, you're thinking, will you please hurry up and get to the point? You've already told me this 1,000 times. When are we going to get to the stuff that I want to hear? That's listening. But you're not there. So you're not hearing anything. You're like, I mean, my sister-in-law has what she thinks is listening, and it is. It's automatic listening. It's reactive listening. It's always listening, down to an art form. She can be sitting there in a conversation, nodding her head and going, yeah, oh, yeah, yes, yeah. And I know that she's rearranging the sock drawer, or she's waiting for her the next time she gets a chance to talk. That's one kind of listening. And you can't, and here's the bad news. No, you can't get rid of it. No, you can't change it. It will always be there. It's like your skin. Okay. It's like your arms and your legs. You can't just choose not to have them. Okay. Well, you guess you could choose, but you can't in this case. You'll always be listening. But there's a different kind of listening. And this is the listening that I teach about, because you haven't known about it before. And I call it generated listening.
Let me just want to unpack something for.
Okay.
We have thank God, a worldwide audience. Most everybody is under the age of 30.
Okay.
And to be able to hear what you're hearing right now from a man who's not just living it and teaching it for decades is one of the greatest gifts that you could ever receive. By the way, GIFT is a wonderful acronym, Russ. It stands for Godly Intuition Facilitating Transformation.
I love that.
And that's what you're doing right now. See, people come here thinking, well, I want to learn something new and new information. There's so much information out there in the world, in the web.
Right.
I love inspiration. Barry Shore, he's so amazing. Like Chinese food. 3 hours later, even
Right.
me, you need more me. Okay. What Russ is talking to us about is the T word, transformation. So people are leaning in right now all over the world. And I just want to make sure everybody knows, no matter what country you're in, what culture you come from, it's always there, this automatic always on listening. And what you're getting now is this breakthrough, this little piece of sunlight as the sun rises in the morning, and it's just cracking the surface. Now, as we get through more deeply, you're going to hear Russ, and you're going to be in the light of the noonday sun. And it's going to literally cause a shift in your perspective. So I wonder if generated
listening,
listening, which is almost like artificial intelligence. They call it generative and artificial intelligence. You're so way ahead of yourself. Okay, so now please.
So that was great, by the way. Thank you for that. So there's two things about generated listening. Is when you generate listening, it's like you're listening to someone, like you're a blank piece of paper that they're writing on. Like all that's there is what they're saying, and you're listening for them and what they're saying. You're listening to their concerns. You see, salespeople listen for complaints because they got a product that'll handle that complaint. But many times they don't listen for the concern. And this is just my opinion, I have no data to back this up. I happen to believe that human beings, all actions that we take are out of two things, either concerns or commitments. And think about your life that way. And everything you do, if you brush your teeth in the morning, that's out of a concern you'll have bad breath, and out of a commitment to be clean and hygienic and pleasant for people. I mean, every single thing you do is out of a concern or a commitment. That's just my opinion, though. Now, if that's so, though, if you're listening to someone and you're generating listening, what if you listen to someone for what they were committed to? You say, well, how do you do that? Ask somebody about their family. Ask somebody about what they love or what excites them the most. Ask them about their work. If it's a man particularly, ask them about their work. Men locate themselves in what they do for a living, how they provide for their families. So this is the way to listen for people's commitments. And listening and hearing their commitments is the key to connection. Isn't that what we want to do in relationship building? Don't we want to connect with people?
Yes.
So yeah, right. So it's all about the connection. So the connection comes from this generated listening. And here's another remarkable thing, because when I learned this, it was a massive breakthrough for me, because I realized I always thought that how you make a difference for people was in what you say. How many times do you think, give me a script, I need to know what to say when somebody says this? No, you don't. You don't think about what to say to people when they engage you in a conversation. You just say whatever there is to say. But if you're selling something, if you're trying to get something from someone, that's when we get stuck on, what do I say? How do I get them to like me? And that's what automatic listening is. When you're listening to somebody automatically, your listening is, am I doing this right? Do you like me? Am I saying the right thing? How do I get you to do this? Hurry up and skip down so I can get to that. Let's get through this part so I can get to the next part. Oh, you just reminded me of something I forgot to say. That's all automatic listening. But generated listening has people think you're interesting. Do you know why? Because you're not saying anything. It's because you're there listening to them. It doesn't matter. They can't make a mistake. You're just interested in them. You're interested in them, their life, what they're concerned about, what they're committed to. This is the key to connection. And I happen to believe that the key to relationships is connection. And connection and relationships, no matter what it pertains to, are everything. They're what we're here for. So back to listening. There's two kinds. And what I'm here to do for you today, and if this is the only thing you take away from our time together today, I'll be satisfied. I will think I made a difference. If you understand the listening you're speaking into, which can only come through generating listening, and knowing that, like I here today, I'm asserting, since I'm not with you in person, I'm assuming that Barry gave me this beautiful introduction, and your listening is now, okay, what do you got? What haven't I heard before? Okay, who are you? Why should I be listening to you? Barry told you why.
Okay, on this wonderful note, people on the edge of their seats, and they are saying that, okay, Russ, you got my attention. Who are you? Why should I listen? And I want to make a difference in my life. Okay, I'm loving now. We have sponsors that love our show. We wouldn't have them on if we didn't think they're worthy of your time and attention. We'll be right back with more of this remarkable being who happens to have a name called Russ right after this brief message. Don't go away, because this is fabulous. It's all about you. Be right back with this brief message.
Hello, skincare connoisseurs. If you think you have tried everything in skincare, you are going to love what I am about to tell you. I'm pharmacist Benjamin I. Fuchs. I'm a dermatology pharmacist, and what I've discovered in my compounding pharmacy after decades of working with patients with skin traumas and skin diseases is the missing link in skincare is topical essential nutrition. And because of this missing link, we're not maximizing the potential of topical skincare. We're leaving skin beauty and skin health on the table. And that's why I formulated my Truth Treatments. Listen, the skin's an organ. It needs and wants and craves nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and plant-derived minerals, and now it can get them in super high concentrations in my Truth Treatments. Originally formulated for dermatologists and their patients, now they're available to you. Check them out today at truthtreatments.com, and I know you are going to love the truth.
Any business leader who has stood in front of potential investors can tell you, creating a vivid, compelling vision of the future can be the difference between bankruptcy and billions. If you can move people with words, you can practically will things into existence. Something that seems impossible can be made to seem inevitable. But not with bullet points, with a well-crafted and well-told story. I spent 30 years in advertising, creating stories for giant brands, universities, and governments, and changing people's hearts and minds. And over those years, I accumulated a treasure chest of insights about how to entertain and inspire and move people. And I think I can teach you. Can you think of a tool more powerful than human speech? See how your value changes when you start to master the oldest human art form.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking. So is looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Russ, R-U-S-S, DeVan. And he is the vanguard of something that's shifting your world, because everybody listens. And now you're going to learn how to connect. And that's the ultimate relationship factor in the human condition. Connection is what makes you, you. So when the edge of our seat, wonderful Russ, we have two things you're talking to us about in terms of making connection: being interested, and maybe even interesting because of that. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, long ago, I think it was Dale Carnegie said that it might have been Napoleon Hill, but one of them said, interested people are interesting. So in my business, which is what I call productivity training, it's giving people a new possibility to have business work for them and exploiting the paradigms that exist, like the warm and cold market for prospecting, how sales are done, what closing is, overcoming objections. Those are the common things that I believe are rife with false beliefs. So it's not that they're wrong. And I'm not trying to say that they're wrong and I've got a better way. I just have another possibility for how those things can work that I think is more palatable for today's consumer, because we're always looking for ways to get better, right? And always looking for ways to get more efficient. So what I teach, I call untraining. And what I untrain people to do is get better results, be more productive. And the foundation of that begins with how we listen. So I've just offered you a distinction called automatic listening and generated listening. And what I'm offering those to you as a consideration is I have something, Barry, this came up in Barry's in my introductory conversation when we were talking to each other in first meeting. And I said, Barry, I have a quote. He says, have you written, you're an author, what have you written? We talked about some of those things, but one of the things I've written that I hope to be quoted for one day, it's just a quote. It's like a law, like Russ's law, like there's Murphy's law. So someday somebody will put this down as Russ's law. Russ's law is a closed mouth gathers no feet. Okay. Right. So the old cliche is God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them twice as much. My grandfather used to say that. But we all have heard that. But what I want you to understand is it's not that you can't speak, but where people get broken down is, what do I say? So what I want to do is get you away from the addiction on what you have to say until there's something that you have to say. And what you have to say is easy if you're listening, because you can always say something to someone like, say more about that. What if you just said that? What if you said that? What if somebody had a complaint? What if somebody has a concern? What if you hear and you say, tell me more about that? Then you don't have to think, well, what do I say about that? How do I fix it? What do I do? Now what do I say? What if I say this and they say that? Automatic listening. So the first piece of what I call untraining, the foundation and the base of it is it's against the background of understanding and getting. And by the way, if you learn how to master generated listening, tell me, because we all listen automatically. It's not a bad thing. It's just that when you're generating listening, you have a much better chance of connecting and hearing someone, connecting with them. I happen to believe that there's 4 steps to something that we call prospecting. And those 4 steps are, first, it's contact. So we have lots of contacts. People say, I don't know anybody. Then how come you have 2,700 Facebook friends? Okay. You know people, you just don't know them. Okay. So you know of them, you know what they look like, you might have their picture, you might know where they live, but you don't know anything beyond that. So you don't know them, they're a contact. But with a conversation, like reaching out to them, that contact can become a conversation. The conversation can become a connection, because connections come out of conversation. Conversation isn't just the speaking part, it's the listening part and the interchange of those things. So conversation, then it becomes relationship. So contact, conversation, relationship. And when you think about it, this is the way it's always gone. And then out of a relationship can become a business relationship, a personal relationship, a love relationship. Those are all relationships that we are grateful to have in our life, and they're all important for one reason or another. But you don't go from contact to relationship. You don't skip the 2 steps in between. You don't go there without conversation, without connection. Relationships come from connection. Your relationships with their family, and I know about those a lot, and sometimes we wish we didn't have them, but thought you were born with them. But you know what? Even those come about from a connection, and the connection is your parents. Your family.
So let's unpack a few things here, because this is, again, the beauty of this is it's transformational, transcends cultures, people, age groups. In Scotland, people wear something called a kilt. Men wear a kilt. And it's similar process in the sense that we use the KLT. Know somebody, like somebody, trust. You can't go from just knowing somebody, trusting somebody, unless you have that relational, you say the contact, the connection, relationship. Let's take a look at something, because Russ he's too modest to bring it up, so I'm going to talk about it. He's created something called the Success by Design Institute. Isn't that wonderful, by the way? Everybody think about that. Success by design. Not just, because success doesn't just happen. Success is a process, not an event. Matter of fact, with your permission, Russ, I wrote down during the break an acronym for your name. May I present it to you?
Please do.
Okay, RUSS, Russ. Resilience underpins sustained success.
Wow.
And WOW stands for Words of Wonder.
Great.
So that's you. Resilience underpins sustained success, and that's, I think, is what you're talking about. So let's use this to talk about something that is in your world. You're the world of network marketing. Actually, before I even ask you to do that, for me also, and for the audience, what is network marketing in a brief way of explaining it?
I've got a real short way of explaining it because you would get all kinds of answers to that question. But I believe that the truth is network marketing is a system of distribution most people aren't familiar with. That's all. It's a different way of distribution other than wholesale retail, which is the paradigm of how businesses always, how goods are distributed and done, is the model of stores, wholesale, retail. Now you've got online, but the network marketing distribution model involves eliminating the middleman and having a lot of a company's profits go to compensation for the distributors that are moving the product. That's the difference. So people build a network so they can create volume way beyond anything they could ever do personally. You might be the greatest salesperson in the world, but you can only sell so much yourself. This is leveraging lots, sometimes tens of thousands, sometimes even millions of people, that when they move the product that you are creating this distribution system around, you get paid. That's the simplest way I know how to explain it.
So, first of all, thank you for that. Greatly appreciate it. And you and I mentioned a couple of things in our initial conversation. I'd like you to expand upon it. There's something in the world of network marketing called promoting. And then most people, when they hear that, they think, well, that means selling. And I don't like selling, or selling means convincing or twisting, or they have negative connotations, unfortunately. I happen to think that selling is one of the highest callings in the world because that's what we all do. It's almost like everybody's actively listening all the time. People are always selling because what are you doing? It's your heart. It's your being. I want to have a connection with you. I'm selling me. I love you. And therefore, I want to have a connection. So give us your distinction between promoting versus selling.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And the promoting distinction from selling is one that was created in the untraining 35 years ago. When I looked at network marketing after 10 years of building organizations and having success and also crashing and burning, I saw that perhaps the way it was being taught to be done wasn't working. Not that it was wrong. It's not that there's anything bad with sales, but the common reaction with people in sales is, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like to sell. And what they're really saying, their concern is that if you've ever had a bad sales experience or felt pushed or arm twisted, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the person that does that because you know how that made you feel. Now, selling is at the heart of everything, but it doesn't do any good to tell people that have had a bad sales experience. That doesn't make them want to do it anymore. So I came up with this distinction. I was trained to sell. I had professional selling skills courses. I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and I was proud to be a professional salesperson. And in sales is an accepted methodology. Let me just start with that. It is an age-old accepted methodology that's about uncovering needs, having a product that addresses those needs, getting a commitment to buy that product, and then learning how to overcome the resistance. And that's where the conversation about promoting starts, is the overcoming resistance. If selling is effective, and the two most important pieces in any sales teaching or sales experience or profession, the two most important pieces are closing the sale and overcoming objections. So after being trained and after doing selling from being a teenager all the way up into midlife, I thought, okay, well, why doesn't that work for so many people? If selling is so good about, you put out the features, advantages, and benefits, and you tell people how great this product is, and you go to close the sale to get their money and they resist. Why?
Okay, Russ, that's a great question. Why? If it's so good, why is it so resisted?
Exactly. So here's what I came up with. I had a hypothesis. And my hypothesis was simply this: selling is a force. By any other name, it's a position. Let's put it like that. Selling is a position. The position of selling is you need this. You don't know you need it yet, but I'm going to show you need it, and then you're going to buy it. That's a position. Now, if we believe in natural law, which I happen to, for every action in the universe, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what is the reaction to a position? Opposition, right? And those two things exist in the same context. Like one can't live without the other, except there's no opposition without a position. There's no resistance out there in the universe looking for a place to happen. Resistance can only happen in the presence of a force.
Okay, I have to put you on pause for a moment.
Okay.
Because
you'll have to put me on pause quite often.
I'm inserting me right now, and I think I'm speaking for 500,000 plus people, and you're going to share with 5 people talking millions. This is poetry. This is pure loving poetry. When poetry is song, what you are doing, you're singing the siren song of joyful selling, of bringing benefits. And you're right, whenever you have a position, no matter how godly it is, how wondrous it is, how fabulous it is, by definition, there will be opposition. Correct. If there's good in the world, the evil will come. Okay, now the goal is that the good is so good that it pushes aside the darkness. I am enjoying your poetry, sir.
Thank you, Barry. So when I looked at that, I understood why me teaching people how to sell better was not the answer. That there needed to be something missing, and I saw what was missing in most sales conversations. And you know what's missing? And you're gonna maybe think, well, no. I say what's missing is choice. And you say, well, no, you can say no. Can you? Can you say no to a salesperson that's on their game? No, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to try to convince you that you're wrong to say no. Now, how much fun is that? Making people wrong for what they think. So instead of that, what if it's okay to say no? How many salespeople say, I'm going to show you something, but you know what? I'm not attached to you buying it. I think it's the best thing for you. It's okay to say no. Now, how did I get there? Well, I got to tell you, I looked at what was happening in the world. During this time of professional selling skills, which are still being taught and there's nothing wrong with them, they're being taught every day. The world shifted.
That shift again, got to keep that F in place. So the other stuff happens.
Consumers shifted in how they listen. Long ago, advertising, look at technology. You had the radio. There were radio ads when you had radio. You had television. There were television ads. Then you went into the internet, and it's progressed all along. But here's what I want to point out. Back in the old days, all advertising was about was branding, beating you to death with a brand. Try this. This is the best. Use this kind of cigarette. Drink this kind of cola. All that was all about branding. You go into the store, it was Crest or Colgate. So they beat you to death with brands so that when you went to shop at the store, that's what you did. So now we've got this media called television that says, well, wait a minute. How do we get them to buy it whether they go to a store or not? How do we get them to do that? So something took the place of branding in the media. What took the place, and this is again my opinion, but it came out of my research, what took its place was value. Now the name of the game is, this is better, this is less money, this will save you money, this will do the job better, and people started listening for value instead of brands. Now, what's promoting? Promoting's what they do. There's no selling on television, and yet you can be watching a show on television, and in 30 seconds, a product will come on television you've never heard of before that gets right to a concern you have, and you look for your wallet or you write down a phone number or a special code to get you a discount and buy the product. Where's the selling? There's no closing. There's no resistance. All there is a message of value, and you go, I need that. I want that. I'm going to get that.
Okay, so let's pause and unpack
Okay.
the V word. V for victory. Now, there's two ways that people approach life. I'm either a victor or a victim. So people listen to The Joy of Living, and we urge you to share this with 5 people. You want to do 50 or 100, it's up to you, but at least 5. You follow us on Spotify and Apple because it makes a difference for the sponsors and such. It really helps a lot. So follow us on Spotify or Apple, and understand that you are a victor. And when you're a victor, everything in your life is based on value. Value you as a being, value the people you're with, and value everything that you interact with. So the message that you, wonderful Russ, are bringing to us is that the essence of working in any situation, whether it's a product, a service and such, is all about the value. Where's the value for me as a user? For you as a promoter of this particular product? You wouldn't be offering it if it didn't think it had real value for people. Right. I love this. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's unpacking the, like you said, everybody listen. Oh no, now we're going to go about generated listening. And now we're going to talk about real deep stuff called value.
And remember I said about earlier about the listening you're speaking into? Whoever understands promoting and listening, they already know that concerns are what move people to action. So you'll notice how advertising, now you'll never not notice it. You'll notice how advertising on the internet, on social media, on the television, everything today is about speaking to your concerns and commitments. They know the listening they're speaking into. They don't know that you'll buy, but they don't care, because if they hit on enough concerns and commitments, there's going to be lots of people choosing to buy it. They don't have to sell anything. They're choosing to buy it.
So on that note, we told you we have great sponsors. We wouldn't have them. We didn't think they would deliver value for you. We'll be right back with more of this amazing being named Russ DeVan. The other side of this message, don't go away.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. You're good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. We have good in abundance. His name is Russ DeVan. He is the guru of network marketing. More importantly for you, he is the key that unlocks your greatest value, which is generated listening. And if you've been listening, you know that everything you've been sharing here, I urge you, don't take notes, just experience all this. The reason we record all these things is so you can go back again and listen at your pace, write questions down, and then keep listening, and then go back a third time, because when you internalize, utilize, and leverage this, it's going to create a T for you, a transformation. By the way, I just want to make mention, because Russ won't do it. He doesn't just speak on Barry Shaw's podcast and other people's podcast. He's shared stages with some of the biggest people in the history of communication, such as Tom Hawkins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Dr. Ben Carson. And actually, I'd like you to tell a quick story, if you would. I'm going to go in a different shit. Tony Little. You remember Tony Little?
Boy, I'll never forget him, and he's still a dear friend of mine. Yeah,
okay.
We talk all the time.
Can you tell a quick 1 or 2 minute Tony Little story? the work
Sure.
you did together.
Absolutely. Tony, of course, is a television icon. He is arguably the most successful infomercial personality in history. He's been known to sell $55,000 a minute when he does an infomercial. He still is working with the HSN, the Home Shopping Network, and and he's a tremendous person. Now, when I was in the early '90s, Tony Little was doing some of his early infomercials. This is before the Gazelle Glider, which was a smash for him. And I saw him on television. And Tony is the opposite, of course, of what we've been talking about, except for the promotion part. Okay, Tony is like a performer. He's an entertainer. He's a star, and he was selling something. They were VHS tapes. Remember those? Called Target Training, and it was all. And he was up there with his incredible physique. You know, saying he was like a modern day ponytail Jack LaLanne. You know, who he knew very well, by the way. But he was just dynamic, and people like even I was in the audience, not the actual physical audience, but the television audience, watching him thinking, who would buy from this guy? I mean, it really was my thought. I said, it's so corny and it's so in your face and it's so all this. It's absolutely wrong. If I could, I could help him. That's what I'm thinking.
I could help Tony.
Okay, I could help while I'm writing down how to order the Target Training tapes. Okay, so I'm buying, even though I think his style is not what I would recommend. So anyway, in that moment, even in that moment, that very moment that I was buying, and this is absolutely true, Scout's honor, I had the thought, I want to meet this guy. I want to meet him, just to have the wonderful wisdom and just to have him as a friend or be able to find out how he got where he is. I mean, I'd love to meet him someday, and maybe we could have a friendship or a relationship of some kind. Now, that was just a thought, but I remember having that thought watching that commercial. Okay. And here's what happened. Just about 2 years later, I was blessed to have this wonderful magazine feature me along with some really famous people. And it was about people working from home. And it was done by Success Magazine. It was a special issue. They were just trying it out. It was the premier issue. And they featured 24 home-based business entrepreneurs out of 400 that they interviewed, and I got picked to be one of them. Well, it was one of the great honors of my life. And when I knew this magazine article was going to appear, I hadn't even read it yet. I didn't know what they were going to say about me, so I was kind of taking a chance. But I thought, I've never advertised for my business. I'm going to do a Success by Design ad. I'm going to do a full-page 4-color ad. It cost me $10,000, which I never spent that on it. This is 1995, then 1994, 95.
It's real money today.
Yeah, so $10,000 to do a full-page ad. You know what the ad said? Fire your boss. And had me standing there like this in front of my house, like, fire your boss, call me. And for the phone number, like an idiot, never having done this before, I didn't get any advice about how to do it. I just did it. I used my home phone number. No, it was my home office phone number, but right. I was thinking, who's going to call? Really. Well, I got 600. This came out on October 15th of 1995. I had 600 personal calls by Thanksgiving. Okay. 700 or more by the end of the year. And I took or returned every one of them personally. And the people, when I would answer the phone, they'd go, wait a minute. You're the guy in the ad? You're the guy in the ad? Yeah.
You're really doing you're real?
Yeah. So you're the guy in the ad? Yes. Now, one of those people that I called back, I didn't know who he was. He just said, Russ, this is someone. I called everybody back. Everybody. I called this guy back and he says, well, listen, I'm not interested in your deal, but I'm representing somebody that might be. And he said, I want you to know something. And no, he didn't tell me this till I met him in person. He says, are you willing, and I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. He said, "Are you willing to come to Los Angeles and have lunch with me?" Now, I didn't know anything about him. He told me he worked for Joe Weider, Joe Weider, the famous bodybuilder.
Whoa. Okay.
Joe
By the
Weider.
way, I love when you're dropping names because this makes a difference. Joe,
Okay.
most people don't know Joe Weider. You got to look it up.
Right.
It's
Joe Weider, I was just going to say, it was a famous bodybuilder
yes.
in Barry's in my day.
And he
But
had his claim to fame, not from his mouth, from a guy named Arnold Schwarzenegger, who said, "That's the reason I am successful, because of Joe Weider." Okay.
yeah, and he built Weider Enterprises. So anyway, this guy said he worked for Joe Weider, but he was representing somebody else. And he said, I'd like to have a conversation with you, but I want to have it in person. So I flew to Los Angeles to meet this guy just for lunch, flew out and back, okay, that day. And when we were at lunch, he said, I got to tell you something. He said, that magazine you were in, pretty interesting. He says, I went through, he said, I called 3 people, and you were one of them, 3 people that articles were written about in that magazine. You're the only one that called me back. I never forgot that. And that's when he said, I represent Tony Little. Do you know who he is? And I said, are you kidding me? Of course I do. And he said, well, he said he's looking at network marketing. He's kind of iffy on it. He's shaky on it. But he wants me to interview some people that know about network marketing, and you're one of them. And he said to come out here and sit down with him and make your case to see if he wants. And I am at this point, I'm blown away. I'm shaking with excitement. I said, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." And he says, "Well," he says, "it's not over yet." He says, "I have to go back to Tony and tell him we've met." He says, "But you'll get a letter from me in the next few days, an invitation to come out and meet Tony." Well, to speed it up, I did get a letter. I responded absolutely. I went out to meet Tony, and when I walked out, and it was at his agent, and his name was Ray Manzella, also the agent for DeForest Kelley from Star Trek, and Suzanne Summers. That he was the agent for Tony Little. So it was at his office. So I go there, and here's Tony Little outside in a white shirt and blue jeans. And he's outside the building, and I went up to him and I shook his hand and I said, "What an honor to meet you, Tony." I said, "I'm so glad I'm here." He said, "Tony," said, "Go ahead, go inside. I'll be there in a minute." So I go inside, and I'm at a conference table, and there's like 6 other people there. And I didn't know there was 6. I thought I was going to come meet Tony. I mean, I didn't have my feelings hurt or anything. I thought, well, of course, I'm not the only girl at the dance. So, okay. So we're at this conference table, and we're all there to meet Tony Little. And Ray Manzella, his agent, comes in and says, "I'm going to bring in Tony. You guys have your time with him. Enjoy. See you later." And Tony comes in. Tony sits down at the table, and everybody at the table except me just started in on him. It was almost like being in the bullpit at the commodities market. Okay. And I'm watching Tony sit there and get red in the face with everybody talking at him at once over top of each other. And there was one guy on speakerphone from Florida because didn't want to leave his house because he had a hurricane coming in, and he's in the thing too. And I'm just sitting there, to tell you the truth, in dumb amazement. Some of them had their kits out in front of them and their product in front of them and brochures. I didn't have any of that stuff. I had a business card. I just went there to meet Tony. And I'm sitting there with my mouth shut, just watching all this take place. Finally, Tony, true story, Tony explodes. He says, "Hold it, hold it, hold it." He says, "Are any of you interested in me? In what I want and what I like, or what I want to say?" And I went, "I am." And he goes, "Who are you?" Like that. And I said, "I'm Russ DeVan, and I just came here to meet you." He says, "Well, where's your kit and your stuff?" I said, "I didn't bring one." He goes, "Everybody out. This is the guy I want to talk to." True story. But I got to tell you the rest. Out of that story, Tony said, "Will you send some things to my home in Florida?" We had a great conversation. He says, "I'm a little leery about doing this, but I want to look at your company. I want to look at you." And he said, "I really like you." And will you send me something? Well, I had something overnighted to him. It was probably at his house in Florida before I got home, even though I got home that afternoon. That's how long it took me. But he called me the next day. And over the next 6 months, we built a relationship. We didn't get in. And I didn't try to put him in anything. We built a friendship and a relationship. And on December 27th of 1995, this was 1996, because the article was in 95 in October, and this was the next spring that this happened. So the Olympics, I went to the Olympics. Tony, and I were building a relationship still. That December, just after Christmas, Tony got in my business. In the next 9 months, we built an organization of 28,000 people that did $3.5 million a month. And that was out of a friendship. And it was also out of listening instead of talking. That's how I met Tony Little. And we're friends. We're friends to this day. Great friends.
I'm loath to say the words that I'm about to say, Russ. We're coming to a close on our time together.
Oh, boy, they ever go fast.
And I'm loath for several reasons. One of them is Jordan Adler.
Oh,
Nothing would be more important than telling the Jordan Adler story, except that we're not going to do it right now. So I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Number 1 question. Will you come back again?
I'd be honored. Yes.
Thank you. Number 2, you have only 80 seconds to answer this, wonderful Russ DeVan. What is your most fervent desire?
To make a difference in the world, to contribute something to the world, to leave it better off than it was when I got here, and honor all the blessings that have been given to me. It's pretty easy.
Russ is a madman, remember? Mad, make a difference. And number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 511,927 people around the world?
I would love it. Yes,
Let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Here we come. 1, 2, 3.
Got it.
And again, this is Russ DeVan, Barry Shore, and it's all about, not about him, great guy that he is, or Barry Shore, yeah, fun fellow. It's about you. You, Y-O-U, you being the best you, because you're the best you. You make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony. You create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. Use the 3 fundamentals of life. Number 1, life. Your life has purpose. When you lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad. Mad, of course, stands for make a difference. And the 3rd is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms, such as WWW, what a wonderful world. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, listen to Russ, rethinking, enabling all to excel. And use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Use 4-letter words. Remember, we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. So the 4-letter words you want to use are love, life, hope, play, free, gift, praise, swim, and tell the world to F you. Remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. So where'd you get that? Listen to Barry Shore. He wants to teach the world to F you. Now you get their attention, and now you can create a connection. If you create a connection, you have a chance to create a relationship. Relationship, everything is open to you because you're bringing value to the world. Those are the words of Russ DeVan, and they're wonderful. They're true for now and forever because they're built upon truth. And we urge you, go forth. I'm going to give a blessing. Okay? Give a blessing from Russ and Barry. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Russ, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.